Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coalition. We are back with MovieCast, and this time we're going to talk to you about the wonderful, great everything that is Marvel's Eternals. And I know that the people on this panel are excited to tackle. We'll go first with Mr. Tony Polanco. How are you doing?
What is going on, people?
And Mr. Carlos Romero.
Yo, 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 MCU day again.
Every month is an MCU day.
Yeah, right.
Basically. So basically, well, this just appeared on Disney Plus, which is why we're doing it now, as opposed to 2 months ago when nobody was going to the theater to watch it. I think just period, because it just nobody was really interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right off the bat, I want to know, what did you think of what was supposed to be the most beautiful MCU movie, as Kevin Feige and the rest of the Marvel team described it to be? Carlos, what are your thoughts?
So I'm grateful that I watched this movie the time that I did because I went in with really low expectations. It's difficult, it's difficult to judge this movie in particular because I got to give it credit for being a movie that actually tried to be different, try to do something of its own. And it hardly ever felt like an MCU movie to me. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
I agree.
So I really got to give him credit for it. But its worst aspect is definitely in its writing. The way the movie was, configured and conjured and everything going around, it wasn't paced well. I felt like some of the characters could have used a little bit more, development. I felt like some of the going back and forth within the timelines could have been done better. I don't know. It's been 24 hours since I saw this movie, and I'm still kind of thinking, where does this lie within, the greater scope of the MCU? Because I recently did my overall rankings of all the MCU movies, and I can't really put this with the worst. I can't really put this with the best. Obviously, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I still feel the way I feel now, and it'll probably develop the more we talk about it. But I feel like this movie is just an incomplete. There's things about it that I do like. Some of the action scenes were pretty cool. The way the overall lore that they're trying to introduce felt like there were some interesting aspects to it. But in other ways, it just fell flat.
Completely understand. Mr. Polanco, jump in there.
Yeah, I mean, I already said this. I have never been a fan of the comic books of Eternals, right? I've read them all, right? And I'm like, because there are some interesting ideas in there, but it never gels well. So going into this, I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be just as, I don't want to say bad because I don't think the movie was terrible. It was going to be as boring. That's I guess the operative word, boring. Yeah, it was that. To put it into movie terms, this is like a more benign version of Prometheus, right? A lot of, and I say benign because I think Prometheus was a bad movie, yeah. But like it had all these cool ideas that never came together. And I'm going to quote my coworker Marshall Honoroff here. He said this about something else, but I'm going to quote him on this. This movie threatened to get good and then just messed it up.
Ooh, like, that's a good explanation.
Yeah, it was almost there. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like, I'm watching this. There's certain points we'll probably get into. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Let's see where this goes, and then it just doesn't follow through. And then the other thing was, and we'll get more into it. I felt this movie wasn't cinematic. It felt like a made-for-TV movie because outside of the London part in the beginning, it was all taking place in these desolate places. Even the jungle, I'm like, it feels like the last thing they're in some fucking island. I'm like, this is a cheap set. You could just do this anywhere. So the scope didn't come together. Again, the character stuff threatened to be good, but it never came together. And then by the end, like you said, Carlos, yeah, that's great. It didn't feel like a MCU movie, but that also messed it up for me too. I'm like, why am I watching this right now?
Yeah.
You know?
And I
So,
mean,
not just to sum it up, not as bad as I expected. It was a slightly better, like maybe 2% better than I expected. Or I guess it was better in the sense I didn't hate it. This wasn't the Matrix. Matrix was
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
trash. You
Yeah.
know, but I can't say that about this movie. It was not that I feel it was, Carlos. I think maybe you'll feel me. The intent was noble, right? Very noble intent. It just didn't work out right. And I'm wondering if it was the director's inability to get it going, or if it was just Marvel trying to cram too much shit in there and she couldn't do what she really wanted. But yeah, I mean, we'll get in more to it, but yeah, I'm gonna give this movie a meh. You know?
And it did a decent job at describing, I guess, going in. My biggest thing, and I think the biggest thing for a lot of people, was why the hell are these ultra powerful beings in this world and didn't do anything for the past, X amount of years. I felt like they did a decent job of just describing why they, they weren't doing anything. So I'm like, that was like the first hurdle that I'm like, okay, it got over that hurdle, because that was probably my biggest roadblock of why are these people here super powerful and the world was threatened and they didn't do shit. Who are these people? And it's it did that. But yeah, like Tony mentioned, I felt like some of the characters, as cool as they were, some of them, they weren't developed as well. I felt like the Angelina Jolie character kind of didn't know what it was. It's like, oh, like this super powerful being, or like at first I thought she was like more powerful than Icarus, and then somehow she wasn't, and it kind of, for me, just didn't make sense. Also, random thing in the whole movie, the dude, the emo kid,
Drew,
the one, Drew,
not Ezra Miller.
the Ezra Miller lookalike. That super random. He was in Aztec, Mexico, before, like right when it was getting conquered by the Spanish, and he took them into like the Amazon afterwards, but somehow they all look Spanish and none of them looked Aztec. you know what I'm saying? It was weird. I was like, it was super random, but it's like I just found it weird. But there were aspects of the movie I'm like, oh, that's I like the thought of it. It's like I like where they're trying to go. But yeah, some of the
it didn't work. It just didn't gel together, man.
Yeah, and it's like, seeing Icarus fight, it was like, oh, that's pretty badass. Even the deviants, so they're called.
Yeah, deviants. Yeah, the monsters. Yeah,
the deviants were pretty cool, I thought, for the most part. But and then aspects like the romance, the quote unquote romance between Sprite and Icarus, I'm like, how can I feel anything if they didn't really have much to go with?
Because I think it would have been. It would have. Yeah, I think it would have been.
Wasn't in love with anyone.
No, Sprite she was in love with Icarus, but she couldn't. But it couldn't be required because she was trapped in that body. So I think that again, that was another thing. They had all these little things that would have been really cool if explored, and just didn't do it. And with the deviants, I got to talk about that because I'm like, that was wasted too by the end. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right. Well, then just really quickly, I'll just kind of jump in here and say that I thought that this was one of the most beautiful concepts, where you have they took something where it didn't feel like a superhero movie, and it felt like it was way more grounded, and it was more philosophical than it was like, here's the villain, we have to save the day, and more like, what is free will, and going out with your own thoughts, because even the Eternals themselves, they're not real, and the whole time that they thought they were, but they wasn't, and the whole concept of people in war, and you trying to fight their battles, but you're realizing that you can't because they won't be able to grow. I really like that, and I thought that overall it was a really great idea. All of the different characters would have worked if you would have given them room to breathe in like a TV series, so that you could really explore what everyone was going through. You have the whole Sprite situation, because it felt like with some of the betrayals, and especially with Sprite, towards the end when she's stabbing Gemma Chan's character, whose name I can't remember at the moment. Cersei, it just felt like, when did you hate her? I don't recall this.
Yeah.
So it felt really out of place, and I really loved the relationship between Gilgamesh and Thena, but we didn't get that.
Yeah, again,
Yeah.
the movie just setting these things up and never really going like full on.
Right. So I thought it
And
was
and and that's the that's the weird thing with this movie. It's like there's a lot of characters that are doing things that are supposed to be payoffs, towards the end, but it doesn't really feel like a payoff as much because we haven't really spent as much time with the characters to feel that way.
Yeah.
The Icarus betrayal thing, I didn't really feel that bad for. The only way you can make any sense of it, like feel anything about the betrayal, is if you do headcanon and like, okay, it's like thousands of years and you're pretending to see like how the relationships were through those thousands of years, but that wasn't really transmitted through the movie as well.
Yeah.
And like Dana mentioned with the thing with Sprite, it's like I don't know how she went from, okay, I can understand that she had this, that she loved Icarus for thousands of years and she couldn't do anything about it and he couldn't love her back, but the way that she went from that to stabbing Cersei, just I couldn't see that happening in the way that the movie was portraying these characters.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm going to say this though, because a lot of people, Dana, you just said it right now too, that you feel this thing would have been better as a series. I kind of disagree with that.
Oh,
and this is coming from me. Just not. I don't want to deal with a fucking series. I think a better script would have had this laid out better. I think a better script would have had, even if the character moments were shorter, right? They could have just done it better if they were written better, because not everything needs to be a goddamn series. Like we can keep it to a 2-hour movie. And yes, I will say that too. This movie is too fucking long. Like 2 hours. We don't need more than 2 hours. We're good. We're good.
I do agree, but I feel like one of the biggest things that would have helped this movie is if you didn't have all of those characters.
Yeah. But again, that's been a problem even with the comics. Like the comics just threw these 50 million people at you from issue 1,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, okay, what do we do here? Like maybe they could have introduced a couple of them throughout other MCU movies, maybe, but the Eternals as a concept never worked. Like if the comic book guys can't get it to work, you're not going to get it to work either. It's just an unwieldy concept. All these space gods are coming, all this other stuff. By the way, I got that too, that ancient alien shit. I'm like, all right, here we go with this. But that's the original source. It was Chariot of the Gods. The original comics were based off of that. So it still has that flavor to it too, And that's the other thing I'll say is, like, I understand why you threw in the past stuff, but I felt some of that past stuff could have been cut. Like, we don't need to be spending 50 fucking minutes on this shit. I know it wasn't 50 minutes, but you know what I'm saying. Like there was a part with the Aztec thing. I'm like, why is this still going on?
Because to show why they couldn't interfere, so then people would be like, "Well, you could make it short."
No, but the thing is, you had that exact same scene better played in Hiroshima, right? Like, okay, that's why you shouldn't interfere. Look what you just did. That was a 2-minute scene, perfect. We don't need to be spending 10 minutes in fucking Aztec, and then was in Babylon. They were there forever too. I'm like, all right, yo, let's go back to the interesting shit, But again, I feel they could have had all that stuff that was showed in the past, just clipped or at least talked about. But it was just, I mean, that's my problem with a lot of movies now. It's just why are we still here? Why is the movie so long?
Yeah, the whole Aztec thing, like, I guess it's the main reason why they focused a lot on that was because that's the point where they decided to go on their own.
Yeah.
But going back to when I mentioned the whole thing with the characters, I don't mind the characters existing. I just it would have been cool if we went from, hey, like some of the Eternals are missing or something, and they're off in their own way. To an extent, the dude, the Indian guy, he went missing at the end anyway. So it's like, what was the point?
Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, yo, my man, after he leaves the movie, that's it. He's done. He's like, I got my check. I'm out. It's like, bruh.
But see, so that it was sorry.
I don't know. Go ahead, Dana. Sorry.
No, I was gonna just to piggyback off of that. That's why it was so like jarring for me when they're like, we have to go out there and get more the Eternals, and I'm like, I thought that was what y'all had.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, oh, you're talking about just in general the whole universe.
Yeah, no. Remember at the the end credit with Harry Styles as what was Eris
Arrows.
Eros,
Arrows, yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, we have to go out and find the rest of the Eternals."
Yeah. So
Because
there.
there's
So
more Eternals out there in the universe or whatever.
yeah, because they're used to, essentially bring forth the new Celestials that are born
Yeah.
from the planets. So that's their whole purpose. So there's probably millions upon millions upon millions of Eternals throughout
Yeah.
throughout the universe.
Hmm.
That part I didn't mind. I actually kind of liked where they went in that direction. It's like, oh, cool. Like, they're gonna ban a whole bunch of Eternals and take out this freaking huge ass, all these celestial beings.
Yeah, good
Which
luck
kind of
with that.
isn't isn't Ego a celestial?
I don't know about the
Yeah.
MCU. I think in the MCU he is. In the comics, he's not. He's just a big sentient planet with a big face on it. Comic books, you know. But yeah, I don't know if he is in the MCU or not, but he's not in the comic books.
Yeah. So I actually, at least for me, I like that direction that they went in towards the end. But yeah, as far as in the context of the movie, I just felt like it didn't really tie things up that well.
Yeah.
Right. So we had an array of characters that they introduced. Was there hard to say a standout? Was there one that was that's the wrong one? Was there a standout? Someone that you kind of felt a connection to that you wish they would have explored more?
I'm just being completely honest right now, and
Mhm.
I'm a man, so you can forgive me. The only one I liked was Cersei because she was fucking hot. Like it's like what's her name? Gemma Chan, right?
Gemma Chan.
Beautiful. I'm like, Jesus, she is stunning, So that was like my favorite part. But yeah, overall, but I'm just saying just her looks. I'm just being shallow. I know whatever, but I don't think any of these characters really stood out. I don't. The only one I kind of like the most was probably the Indian dude that was the camera the camera guy.
Oh, he was
The
funny.
camera-
Yeah, he was funny. Yeah, the camera
thought
guy.
he was
I liked him, but like all the others, because I'm just being honest, I never liked Nanjiani. I've never found this dude funny at all. Angelina Jolie, she's the same in every movie.
Ooh.
What's his face? The black dude from Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
He again with this fucking movie could have been an interesting character if they explored it more. Because he is, Hephaestus, right? By the way, that's me knocking on Jack Kirby. Like, bro, you couldn't change these names around. It's pretty fucking obvious who you're referring to here. Hephaestus, okay, bro, just had a in front of it. Hephaestus. He could have been interesting.
Because the Hiroshima scene was pretty good, like you mentioned.
That was great. That was one of the few things I like. I'm like, this is cool. Because imagine if you're the guy who gave humans this power and they're just fucking blowing each other up. Like he did such a good job there, But again, all the characters I felt had hints of something that could have been cool. But nothing really came out. Sprite could have been cool. Icarus is cool. By the way, that ending was kind of corny. I'm like, oh, here we go. Icarus is flying into the sun.
Yeah.
Flying. All right, bro.
Yeah.
All right, I get it.
That was really bad. That was my remember, going back to Spider-Man. So I don't even know if we should spoil Spider-Man in this.
No, we
We can. It's $2 billion movie.
All right, so cover your ears for the next for 1 minute. When I'm about to spoil something, the whole great power, great responsibility line.
Yeah.
When I thought back then, it was like, what, you could have said anything, and it would have been much better. I understand the scene, but just do anything other than that, or say anything other than that. And I felt the same way with Icarus. It's like, okay, I understand, like you feel all this, guilt and stuff, and you want to essentially just kill yourself. Just don't do it in the sun. That's
like you had to do it in the sun.
It's too damn cheesy,
I'm just glad they didn't add like a stupid shadow. Like, oh, look at his wings, they're going away. Like,
like the feather, yeah.
And by the way, I have to say this again. All respect to Jack Kirby, bro. You couldn't have picked for more than the Greek pantheon. Like half these guys have Greek names.
Yeah.
Like it would have been cool if they were like more spread out, like Makari, like okay, Mercury, they run fast. I get it, Gilgamesh is like one of the few ones that isn't like a Greek pantheon, Again, he could have been a cool character. I'm looking at you brought this. all of them had their things because except for I never cared for Angelina Jolie as
But
an
she had
actress.
the
You know,
Alzheimer's thing. That was an
um,
interesting concept.
Selma Hayek didn't really do it for me either. Druig could have been interesting. Festus was probably the coolest one. Kingo, the comedy was a little too much for me, being honest.
Oh,
Um, Makari was interesting. Like, okay, so did she introduce sign language to humans? You
yeah.
know,
I
is that
I thought
is that
that
what they were
each
implying?
I thought
Yeah,
each Eternal represented like its own cultural or diverse group of people. So like she would bring in the sign language,
yeah,
and you had the Indian representation with Kingo,
yeah. Makari was cool.
maybe.
I liked her runnings. That was cool. I like that. Gilgamesh again could have been cool because my man was beefy, but he's like
Yeah,
the strong man body. You know what I'm saying? Instead of like like Henry
Mhm.
Cavill and shit. You know what I'm saying, right?
yeah,
Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah.
Relatable body.
yeah. No, it's not relatable body. It's like you could take that graphic off, Dina. But you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Like a bodybuilder is
Mhm.
different than like a weightlifter. Like they
Right.
have like a guy who looks cut is actually not as strong as the big guy who looks like fucking E Honda or something.
Mhm.
But yeah, so yeah, going back to it, it's very hard to say which character I like most, just because they all had hints of something that may have been cool, but they didn't
Yeah,
go for it. Even you're right, despite how I feel about Angelina Jolie, that could have been a cool story too.
yeah,
This
man.
dementia,
Mhm.
like, okay, because that's something that's never explored. I'm going a little broad right now, and like, when you have these characters that live for thousands of years, in this case millions of years, like, what does that do to you psychologically? Like, how doesn't that fuck you up? I remember there was this comic book I used to really like called Powers. Right? I think they turned it into a show, right?
Yeah.
And the main guy, he has been alive since ancient days, right? Like caveman days, right? And he had this rivalry with this other caveman. They just lived all these millions of years or whatever, right? And in the 1930s, when he caught up to him, the caveman, the evil guy, he killed this dude's wife and shit, his daughter and everything. And the guy's like, "Yo, why the fuck did you kill my family?" He's like, "You don't remember?" It's like, "I don't know you." Because think about it, he's been alive so long, you're gonna
Hmm.
forget stuff. So
Mhm.
this movie didn't do a good job of that either, but I can't fault it because no stories ever capitalize on that. Like, what does that shit do to you? Having that, like, okay, either you're gonna have way too many memories or your brain's gonna like just corrode, you know?
Well, didn't Logan kind of maybe touched on that with Magneto?
Well, Magneto, he's been around since just the
I mean,
1940s, so it's not that
Professor
long.
X, Xavier. Because
Um,
remember he was
yeah.
old, and because of I guess the dementia or whatever
Oh
was
no, that was
setting
the
in.
that
Well, I
was
think because
his
his
psychic
powers.
powers. It was his
I was
powers.
just, oh, okay.
Yeah, Xavier's normal lifespan. Wolverine, they keep resetting his memory. That's part of the character storyline. It's like he doesn't know what he's coming on. But anyway, yeah, you're right about that. It's like that dementia thing would have been cool, but they didn't really touch on it. Again, the running theme of this podcast is like wasted potential. You know?
Wasted potential.
Hmm. Because
Mm.
I felt like Richard Madden was pretty good casting for Icarus. I felt like
Oh
he looked
man,
he looked really good in that part. Like
I
he
liked
was.
him. Yo, Carlos, when you saw him and John Stark,
Oh yeah. Oh,
oh,
he says. Remember, and then I saw this in a video. It's like
yeah,
in Game of Thrones, the last line is like, "The last time I'll see you, you'll be in black."
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Eh,
Mm.
yeah, so that was good, and you could tell the movie did that little moment. It's like give him pause, like, all right, that's the way
yeah.
guys like me and you.
Oh, by the way,
Yeah,
I'm gonna jump like this
yeah.
movie. I'm gonna jump to the very end.
Eh,
Uh, in the mid credit scene, uh, when what's his name, Eros shows up.
yeah.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was Theon Greyjoy. I'm like,
Oh,
oh, what the hell?
that would have been insane.
I'm like, this movie is getting ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
but it wasn't. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I really liked Richard Madden
he's
in that
good.
role.
Yeah,
Um, I liked Cersei was pretty good. Gilgamesh, like was mentioned, was really good.
yeah.
Even Nanjiani was good for what he was
For
supposed to
what
like.
he
His
was, yes, I'm glad
Yeah,
you said for what he was. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Um, but yeah, man, I felt like Athena would have served a better
Agreed.
purpose if they actually fleshed her out a little bit better. Because
Yeah. No, I was
okay,
just saying, I think Selma Hayek is the only kind of wasted one. if you really think about it. Like the others, they all had a little something. You know, she was the only one that, you know, because again, she died like in 5 minutes into the movie, you know.
Hmm.
But again, actually, no, now I'm thinking about it, her knowing the real secret, that would have been more interesting if they would have played that up somehow. Like, how does she deal with it all this time? But
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm with you, Tony. Yeah,
yeah,
if they showed her revealing the truth to
yeah,
Icarus in an actual scene instead of doing this flashback thing, it
yeah,
would have been so much better.
yeah, it
It's
really would
like
have.
because you know you got to understand like the whole premise of this whole thing is that they're there to to serve humans and make sure that the deviants don't fuck them up. But then having like a long story, like it would have been better if we were waiting 2 freaking hours to get to that point instead of 2 hours where everything was jumbled together and sort of the main parts were revealed in flashbacks and
Yeah, wasted opportunity, man.
Oh, so kind of going on with the villains, there was the Celestials. Was there any feeling towards that?
Here's the thing: are they villains?
Well,
Like to
no, they both
the
were less.
deviants or the
deviants?
celestials.
Yeah, yeah. The
The
deviants
the
are more the
deviants, sorry, the deviants, yes. So the Celestials created the Eternals, and the
and the
deviants
deviants.
are,
Yeah,
yes, and the deviants. So then the deviants are the villains.
yeah.
Right.
Again, running theme here. Wasted opportunity because you had this one main deviant that was like getting human consciousness or whatever, and
Hmm.
I thought it was going to go somewhere interesting, right? But
Yeah.
it didn't go anywhere. And see, I thought it was going to be kind of like there was at one point where I thought he was going to team up with the Eternals. Like, yo, listen, we both want to live here. You know, we want
Hmm.
to like survive. We should stop this motherfucker right here. You know, but then he just, I don't know. Yeah, again, wasted. I thought it was going to go somewhere. Like, oh, this dude's gaining consciousness is kind of interesting. You know. Oh, by the way, I will say this. You know, as the comic book guy, because one of the cool things about the deviants is that no two deviants look alike. So they kept that in this movie. Like they had a core look, but each
Yeah.
one was different from the other. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Even though the deviants are a little bit more like for the lack of a better term, goblin-ish in the comics. So I kind of like that they made them more space alien-ish. But yeah, again, that main one, I don't even think he had a name. Wasted opportunity there. That could have been really cool, you know, because if you really think about it from his standpoint, he's right. He's like, listen, man, these motherfuckers made us, and you know, we're just trying to do our thing, and now you're trying to kill us. Like, come on, that's fucked up. You know, so
Well,
from their standpoint, they're not villains, you
He,
know?
he was
and
Crow.
not only
Yeah.
yeah, and not only that, but they're they're becoming sort of, well, at least what they said, they're
Yeah.
becoming sort of the people that they were consuming. So
Yeah.
they consume two of the good people, and it's
Mhm.
like, well, wouldn't you, in all that consciousness that deviant God, wouldn't it be aware of the position that the Eternals are in
Myself
right
as a
now?
mm,
So it's like I'm like, oh, okay, so because I was with Tony like when he
yeah.
said he was gonna team up with with the Eternals. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, like when I was watching the movie, I'm like, oh, I think this is the inevitable outcome
Yeah.
because he's getting their consciousness, so he knows what they've been going through and that they've been brainwashed in this cyclical style, and and essentially they finally figured out what they're supposed to do, or at least what they would decide to do. Um, but yeah, they just it
They
just got taken. It just got taken out by Angelina Jolie
yeah.
on a revenge plot.
Yep. Oh my god, that was dumb.
So
Yeah, so that's my take on the deviants.
Oh, all right. So then also we have to kind of discuss the blip, because the blip is the reason as to why the celestial Timid is able to awaken. Did you like how they
oh no, oh no,
it,
so the celestial was supposed to be born, was supposed to arise almost almost after
Yeah.
right after the blip, but the reason why it took longer is because the blip reduced
The
humanity.
blip
And
delayed it.
well,
Yeah,
when they
because
reversed it, it
yeah, no, but the thing
was
is
able.
like the T by the way, I'm gonna call him Tiamat because that's his fucking name. You know, like Tiamut, they call him, and he's like it's Tiamat. We know it, we get it, we get it, we get it. Tiamat, the god. You know, it seemed like Tiamat was about to wake up right before the blip happened. That's what it seemed like. The blip delayed that because, like, you know, you had 7 billion humans. Okay, that's enough. We got enough energy. Now it's 3 billion. Oh shit. You know, so that kind of like the battery just got decharged. You know, that's the way I see it. Yeah.
And wouldn't that have been cool? Like if, because you know, obviously a lot of this ties up to Thanos.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm reducing the population in the universe or the galaxy or universe by half because of these freaking celestials that, you know, keep popping up.
Yeah. That's a good point. I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if he knew that. That would have been a cool angle, actually. You know.
Yeah. So I feel like that would have been pretty cool, considering he's like, from my understanding, he's like an Eternal of a sort.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, of a sort. Yeah. They've always played that in the comics. Like, is he Eternal? Is he a deviant? What is he? You know,
he's Ish.
He's Ish. Let's call him Ish.
But yeah, it was the blip delayed it by a little bit.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Oh, hold on. We have a surprise.
Oh,
is it a controversial one?
Eternally disappointed. Very controversial name. Hello.
So, would you? Hello.
There he is.
He looks cold. Yo, Richard, how's the weather over there?
You're in Boston, right? Yeah, it's probably cold as fuck up there.
Oh yeah, I'm not going outside tonight. I'm not going nowhere tonight. We just ordered some dinner.
Nice. Yeah, the ladies will be disappointed, man. You're not gonna be hitting the streets.
Oh yeah, no. Apologize for the delay. My niece was playing on my phone, so I missed the messages. That that was sent.
So yeah, Rich, what are you overall, like? I mean, we're not wrapping up. We're like halfway through this, but I guess just give us your like quick take on Eternals, and then we'll just jump in and you can just fill in whatever gaps you wanted to talk about.
All right. Well, I don't know what was already said about Eternals, but I will just say I'm going to echo what I said on the previous podcast and say this was definitely the weakest MCU movie that they released last year. I don't know if it's the weakest of all time, but there's a lot of things that they try to stuff into this movie, and I felt that what Disney should have done is they could have easily had some of this stuff in a Disney Plus, like maybe if it's not a I don't know, like a mini series or whatever, they could have easily had one of these stories, at least a story about when the group came to Earth the first time. And then they disbanded and went their separate ways. Because then when you open the movie, it could be just about reuniting everybody together for the common goal of what is the current issue that they have to deal with. But I just think that they tried to put a lot into this movie. And it was way too long. I mean, with all that said, though, it was not a movie that I felt I needed to go to the theater to see opening weekend. Now that it's on Disney Plus, maybe it's a little bit better, but I don't know, man. And then one little last point that I will add. We previously recorded another podcast of another show that I know that we are all a huge fan of because of you, Tony. That is Invincible. So when I see the same similar storyline, I'm like, no, Invincible did this a lot better. I don't the Icarus character, I know that's one of Dana's favorite actors in the movie. But I was a little bored with that storyline. But I guess it's an okay movie, but definitely weaker than what Marvel is used to doing, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will say this, Richard. And if you didn't get to hear our opinions, me and Tony were just not happy about it. But we weren't disappointed because our expectations were rock bottom, essentially. Yeah. From you guys, you're hearing the rumblings from going on the internet, what you guys have told us. I feel just watching this movie, like even during the movie, I felt like I hope this isn't a disappointment for Disney, and it probably is already.
Yeah,
probably money wise, and review wise. But the fact I do want to give them credit because they didn't resort to their cookie cutter MCU bullshit.
Yeah,
and I rather have an Eternals that falls on its face while trying to do something slightly different, as opposed to having an okay cookie cutter MCU movie. And I felt like Shang-Chi, I felt like Black Widow, both of those movies, I'm just mentioning because they're the most recent ones, were like super cookie cutter Marvel MCU movies. And they weren't bad, they weren't like great, but you know, they didn't take any, you know, risks to, you know, to make it, you know, a movie of its own. And I felt like Eternals tried that. It just didn't really succeed in it.
Yeah, no, you're right. They could have just made this another Guardians of the Galaxy. Bunch of jokes, you know.
Yes.
You know, I did feel this movie had too many jokes as well, but Marvel movies have to have that. But yeah, Rich, I was saying that one of the general themes of this podcast so far when it comes to this movie is missed opportunities. A lot of cool things going on in there, but nothing was realized to its fruition. Like right before you came on, we were talking about which, you know, Dana asked us which character did we like, and I said I can't answer that correctly because every character had a little something that could have been cool, but nothing was fully realized, you know. Like I again, if I had like a gun to my head and I had to answer, I guess I would say, you know, Hephaestus. I'm gonna call him Hephaestus. I don't give a fuck what he's called in the movie, you know, because that was cool. Like he's the guy that gave fire to man, you know.
For me, he's always gonna be Paperboy.
Yeah, and again, that scene in Hiroshima was a good scene. You know,
really good scene.
Yeah, but again, everybody had their like Icarus could have been so much cool. Again, like you know, Rob Stark, fucking great. That dude's awesome. And Rich, I did say this though. You know, me being like joking around, but still serious. I did like Cersei the most just because she was gorgeous. Like, damn, yo, that is a stunning woman. You know. She's a good actress too. You know, not taking that away. I
see Dana disagree, but
No,
and again,
here's the thing. I watched Humans with her and was like, oh my God, this was like years ago. She was in a British show. And I'm like, oh my God, she's utterly gorgeous.
She is, yeah.
There's more to her with the acting. She's a great actress too.
She actually is. Yeah. She's the full package there. And again, yeah, so with the characters, the story, it's just a lot of missed opportunities. Like I said, I call this a benign version of Prometheus because I think Prometheus was malicious. Aspects.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
I for some reason I didn't research this, but I just assumed while watching it. But maybe I'm just racist. But she's the chick from The Walking Dead, right?
You're talking about Makari or the chick that the deaf.
No. She definitely is. She definitely is.
So but it's funny you asked that because I was going to ask you the question is, do you think this movie did anything for her character compared to Walking Dead? Because I was disappointed that we didn't see enough about what she was doing all this time that passed. So
so I agree with you. That's the running thing in this movie. There's so many freaking characters. They can't get fleshed out properly, and we can't have the big moments have their payoffs. And and they don't feel earned a lot of the times. And and the thing with her character. And by the way, I wasn't talking about her because I knew for sure that was her. I mean, sign language. Come on. It's is it? But so I got to ask you again, Rich. The Cersei, isn't she from The Walking Dead?
Is that the name of the that's the name of the character?
Yumiko. Is that Yumiko?
That's not her. That's not her. You're talking about Gemma Chan, right? That's the actress's name.
Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah, that's not the same actress from The Walking Dead. The other one is, however, the other one is.
She for sure is.
Yeah, I believe her name is Makari.
She's great in The Walking Dead, by the way.
Yeah, she is.
But she didn't
No, I agree. Absolutely. She is great in The Walking Dead. This movie didn't really get too much about that character. I was going to make a quick comment and say I can't think of all the names of the characters off the top of my head because, but the character, one thing I will say, and I do agree with a lot of what y'all said is some missed opportunities. I will say this. I'm glad they had the character in the movie that questioned why they did not interfere when Thanos did all this stuff. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. But
Jon Snow.
Drew, that's his name. Drew, right? Yeah. There you go.
No.
Yeah, Druid. Okay, yeah.
Druid. Oh yeah. We will get to Jon Snow because you know what's funny is I went to Newberry Comics yesterday. They actually have one of those toys of that character.
Oh, really?
The bobbleheads, and I'm like, this guy, he didn't do nothing in the movie, so I didn't understand why they had that bobblehead of that character.
There's a reason for it, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, but I will say that I did like the Druid character because I kind of think it's ridiculous to have this movie after and pretend like nothing happened with Thanos, and that there's a character that questions, you know, and shows you, well, what if we did have the ability to control what was happening with these wars and how you can also manipulate that power that you have. So I appreciate it that they at least tried to tackle that, but yes, missed opportunities still throughout the entire film.
It was Ajax. She's the true villain of the movie because he could have ended slavery.
But by the way, because I saw people talking about that, it's like, are we talking about just the African slave trade or slavery as a whole? Because slavery has been around since we were fucking monkeys. You know,
he wanted all the slavery to be gone. So I'm like, I like you. You should be the leader.
Well, and by the way, I'm like, it's like they're in the Aztec part, you know, where the Spanish come in. I'm like, oh, you mess with this, I'm not born.
Oh yeah, you gotta be careful.
But yeah, no, it did have the interesting concept. If we interfere, humans are unable to grow and learn and evolve from their mistakes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, gotta let them fuck up.
But I do, and actually, the thing with Druid is I did like. I didn't like his character that much, but I do like his line of thinking with, you know, he's the one that actually had the, you know, the cojones to actually, you know, intervene. But there were some aspects that I didn't like about, you know, what he did and kind of this droopy kind of acting kind of style. But yeah, I did like, you know, at least his initial, you know, premise in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then going on from that whole situation, Richard, really quickly, I was wondering, what was there a particular character was there something that you just did not like, that they started with a really good idea but just didn't execute really well?
My biggest complaint of the movie is the final act, where it felt like that whole final battle was rushed. And it's like they spend a lot of time talking about all these other things, and then you just try to make it all this stuff happening at once in the final act. So I had some issues with that. It's hard to pinpoint anything beyond that because there's a lot of things throughout the movie I was like, I did not. To me, it just felt like it was a long movie. There's a lot of ideas that they had that I think you could have cut this down a little bit more if you just got to the point a little bit quicker. So, but yeah, definitely the final act of the movie, though, by far the roughest part of the movie for me.
Uh-huh. So I'm kind of jump into that act.
Let's do that. Again, I felt that was, it just felt like it was made for TV, man. Like you could tell they were just in a desolate place. We got to cut the budget. We have to have this big celestial in the background. So just have it in the cheapest place possible, a fucking volcano. You know, and that was the thing with this movie is like the Eternals, these like eternal gods or whatever, and it felt very small scale just because of the fact that it took place in all these little places. You know, like again outside of London, everything just seemed like barren and like you had Salma Hayek's home; it was just in the middle of nowhere. You had what's his face, Gilgamesh and Angelina Jolie living in the middle of nowhere. You had like everybody's just living in the middle of nowhere. You know, so yeah, like that. It's like, you know, so I agree with that. It just felt very small scale. But yeah, the final act, that's when things, like Rich, like you said, that's when it started getting really messy, you know. And you say, go ahead. So yeah, I don't really have much. I didn't like the final act, the way it all came together, like because you had the thing with Angelina Jolie and fucking, you know, the deviant. You know, whatever. You had the whole thing with Icarus. He just gives up at the end. You had the Sprite, you know, stabbing, you know, what's her face, You know, it's like it just seemed like too much. You know.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys on that one. You know, I keep saying this, but a lot of those moments did not feel earned.
Yeah.
And and Rich wasn't here when I mentioned this, but when I was pissed during the whole with great power comes great responsibility line in the last movie. When freaking Icarus flew into the sun, I'm like, all right,
Oh,
same feeling. Probably felt worse about this.
that was terrible.
I'm like, yo, it's like it's two on the nose, man. It's like it's some cornball shit.
And it was supposed to like be epic and stuff. Like, no, bro, no.
Nah.
But I wonder.
Okay, so
I wonder how that scene would play out if you didn't know the. But who doesn't know the fucking story of Icarus?
Icarus?
Yeah. No, I'm saying like maybe if you just somehow don't know the story of Icarus, maybe. But even if you take that away, it's corny. Like, oh, you're gonna throw yourself into the sun, all right, bro. You know. But I think if you know the story, it's even more corny. You know.
That is. I mean, I'll go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say yes. The image of it itself was really stupid, but and they kept foreshadowing it, especially with the name. But in a weird way, it never felt like he was going to. I don't want to say like die, but in this, he wasn't going to. I don't know how to fully explain it, but it just didn't feel like it was going to be that literal. But then it did become that literal. But I think that overall, it doesn't become that literal. It's just he had to just go through the sun. I don't know. I didn't like how they set that up, but it kind of felt like Icarus
into it. Yeah,
he plunged into it, but he seems like he was a guy who never really stays for that long, and she even explained it. Like he just up one day and left, and so now we're just kind of following him to where he leaves again. I don't know why the sun, though, they would choose that. I would prefer
because like, oh, there's Icarus, he's flying into the sun. That's why they chose it.
Well,
and they kept saying that throughout the movie.
Yeah, because of the story, you know.
And ironically enough, Icarus never actually got to the sun.
He didn't. He tried. Yeah, he just flew up into the sky. But again, remember, this is the ancients. They thought the sun was literally in the sky. You know, so he tried, but my man got too close. You know, the wings melted and
still making.
You know, great Iron Maiden song, by the way, "Flight of Icarus."
Yeah, so I felt like at first when he flew out the planet and out of the into space, I'm like, oh, he's just leaving, like leaving to somewhere, and we'll see him again. Okay, that's cool. I like Richard.
I have to go now. My planet needs me. Poochie.
Well, and I felt like I'm like, so he's gonna leave, and I'm like, okay, cool. It was like going to the sun. I'm like, oh no, no bueno. but and then I think about it, and I'm like, how else is he gonna kill himself? That's probably the easiest way. But but it's still just change your name, and I would have been better with it.
Yeah, it's corny.
Corny, man.
I never got the suicide part. I never got the one to kill himself.
Yeah, no, it was.
And
that's
that was the whole thing.
Yeah, he felt bad, so he had to kill himself.
I never got that. I just thought that he, he just always leaves. Like I know that he would die. I just felt that he was just one who was always leaving because they kept saying, he left the last time. He just up and left.
Well, we're telling you right now. We're telling you right now it was suicide.
Yeah, he left. He left the last time because he felt bad about the reality of what their mission was. So he didn't want to. He didn't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to be with Cersei because he didn't want to. He didn't want her to be aware of it. Because at the end of the day, his whole thing was the mission. That's why he got was able to kill Salma Hayek's character.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he I think after he was about to attack her, but he couldn't, and then after she did the whole thing, they did the whole Unimind kind of thing, and then I felt like he realized then it's like afterwards, like, yeah, I'm terrible, and that's when he decided to end it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an issue with that. It's just the sun. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's just too on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
The literal sun. Okay, so any other thoughts about that third act before we jump into that after credit?
Yeah. The image of the celestial, like
Oh, that looked good
that's so fucking dope.
from
know?
the
That was
top
very
too,
Yeah,
with the
no, it
clouds
looked
and stuff.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was good. And then all of it actually looked good. Like when they were just chilling in in the beach. Like, all that was fucking dope. That was good.
Yeah.
And anytime a celestial showed up, you're like, okay, this is cool shit right now. But yeah.
Or even when what's his name? I forgot the name of the main celestial that we know. But when he shows up into to get the Eternals, it's like, oh shit!
Motherfuckers freaking out. They in the park chilling. Imagine you see that shit in the sky, like, bruh.
I was like, dude.
So then I guess we're gonna jump into the first mid-credit scene where
Mhm.
that is when we're introduced to Thanos' brother along with Pip,
Yes.
who was voiced by Pat
Patton
Oswalt.
Oswalt.
So Patton Oswalt. Sorry. So any thoughts on Eros, the brother?
Okay, you just answered my question. Because my thing was like, why the fuck that troll CG just get somebody to play him? No, Patton Oswalt wouldn't look like him. So okay, I get it now. I always liked both those characters. Here's the thing with Eros. I don't know how they're gonna portray him. Never mind. I answered my own question. I was gonna say I don't know how they're gonna, because he's very, with his name Eros.
Yeah,
he's the god of sex. In the comics, very flirtatious. Fucked a lot of women. But they're probably gonna do the modern interpretation of Marvel comics where he's
because remember there was a beach scene, so they could throw some things in there. Because what does
I'm
MCU
talking
have
about,
to lose this point?
No. It's not that they're gonna have sex. I'm saying he could be seen as misogynistic by today's standards. You know how they kind of remove that aspect from James Bond. They're probably gonna have to do that with this character too, because he was very he got down a lot, for obvious reasons. He's the god of love, like he just exudes that, so I don't know how they're gonna play that. You guys kept saying his name like he's somebody, so I'm guessing he's somebody famous that's playing him.
He's just a big time singer.
Yeah, I don't know who the fuck that is.
He's probably one.
It doesn't matter. Whoever you mention, I'm probably not going to know this person either.
He's like Tony, like Jackson 5s of today's generation.
Tony, I know you don't know their music, but you've heard of One Direction, right? What?
I can't like they're like Menudo or something. Like,
yeah, well, it's like a 2010s version of Menudo.
Right? Okay, because when I that name, that sounds like a boy band.
He's just super popular. He's super popular. And by the way, Tony, you've seen him before. He was in Dunkirk.
I've never seen Dunkirk.
Oh, you never saw Dunkirk?
I want to see it though, but I've never seen it.
The best movie. Oh, so good.
I do want to see it though. I do. It's Nolan though. Come on now. But yeah, I thought they were cool. I like the dude from the comics. He's from Fox something. His name is in the comics, but
Star Fox.
Yeah, he's cool. Pip, I like both those characters, so I'm like, if you're gonna have them in the MCU, let's go for it. I'm down with it. But within the context of the movie, hints at something more, so that's cool.
And he's Thanos' brother.
Yeah, people probably like, what the fuck, So that'll be something very interesting to explore. Now, this may or may not be a spoiler, but he's not going to mourn Thanos very much. Let's just leave it. Because if everybody's like, oh, is he going to get mad? Like, no, he's not.
You guys both read the comics. Why does he look different than Thanos?
Gives me up. Again, because Thanos is like, people are like, yo, is this dude of deviant? What's up with him? Like, it's never been answered. Like, there's been answers why Thanos looks like it, because all the Eternals or Titans, because that's what Thanos is. He's a Titan. They all look like Eros or the Eternals.
They're all human. They're all humans.
Yeah, they're all beautiful human beings, right? And Thanos turned out to be this fucked up thing. But this never been answered. It's been answered, but then retcon. So there's no definitive answer. I forget, Rich, you read comics too, so you know all about this. Like there was one point where they're trying to insinuate that Thanos was a Skrull because of the chin, but there's no definitive answer. So, that's that.
Yeah, I also don't know what the definitive answer is. I'm sure that's a question a lot of people are going to have. So I hope that Marvel is ready to answer some of this stuff the next time we see him. So we do know he'll return. I would be surprised if he's also not in the Thor movie, because that's coming out this year if it isn't delayed, like a lot of other movies. So we'll see.
So Rich, you just reminded me that when him and Pip got into the craft thing, they used the Bifrost kind of technology, whatever that is.
Yeah, it did look very Bifrostish, didn't it? You're right.
Yeah, so I'm like, maybe they've already met up with Thor, because Thor does that with was it a Stormbreaker?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either if I saw them in the new Thor, the Thor movie.
I agree with that.
So
yeah, I don't really have too much to say about
that. So
now
that the Guardians,
cool scene, yeah.
So then now that Guardians of the Galaxy is basically kind of going away after the third one, do you feel like their adventure will just kind of pick that up? Then they would consider the new Guardians.
I don't know. I don't think so.
No. I mean, I think you'll get some of these answers in the Thor movie. The Guardians, I'm assuming, are going to be in that also, because the last time you saw Thor, he was with the Guardians. So they may make some type of appearance in this movie, I would assume. But I think you'll start to get those answers when that movie drops. And then, of course, we got to wait until next year for, the Guardians Volume 3. So we'll see what happens.
So Dana, you mentioned that this is going to be the last Guardians movie. Wow.
Oh, I never heard that.
Well, we have so what happened is because James Gunn doesn't want to do it anymore. He's tired.
They'll find someone.
Somebody else. There you go.
There's a Christmas special that's with live action that they're doing. That'll be released first, and then there's the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and then after that, James Gunn said he's done, and as we can see, he's kind of transitioning to DC. So
yeah, he did a good job.
He's done with that with Peacemaker, so he's kind of transitioned to that. So there's more journey around with Eternals, I guess. So then if anyone doesn't have anything else to say about the mid-credits, then we'll just kind of move on to the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
It's Moon Knight, right?
No, it's Dane Whitman, the Black Knight, right? I think that's the
name. Nothing black about him.
Yeah, but that, he's from the comics, the Black Knight. My question is, who was that dude talking to him?
I knew that from the second he talked. It was Blade. Yeah.
How did you know that?
Mahershala Ali.
Mahershala
actor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cottonmouth. Remember Cottonmouth?
Yeah, no, I know Cottonmouth, but I didn't recognize the voice. Cool. Oh yeah, because I saw people talking about what the fuck are you talking about, Blade? Cool. I mean, I don't know what the fuck the Black Knight has to do with Blade. I'm just talking about the comics. Like, they have nothing to do with each other. Black Knight is not hunting vampires or nothing. But they're both mystical, I guess. So I guess that could work. But I'll just be honest, the whole Black Knight thing, it shouldn't have been in this movie.
But Black Knight will lead into Moon Knight.
We don't know that. They have nothing to do with each other either.
I just will make a quick comment, and then whoever wants to go next, because I'm gonna answer Dana's question. Dana, you already know what my thought is of that that final scene. I was very triggered because I'm glad to know that we have a Blade movie coming. I'm glad to know that you felt the need to have him make an appearance, but the problem is you don't see him, you only hear him, and that made me annoyed because I'm like, well, if this is the first time I'm going to hear about the character, and I hear his voice, I want to see him. So I was a little annoyed about that. But like Tony said, I don't know what the connection is between him and this other character and how that's going to connect into whatever the Blade movie is going to be about. So I'm a little confused about that, but I'm glad to see it. But it kind of felt like, yeah, that's it. Well, very disappointing.
I have a question for you guys. So can you guys give like a brief description of Black Knight I've never actually
He shows
heard
up
of
in the Avengers sometimes. I never read his actual books. You know, that's all I know about. He just shows up in the Avengers books. You know, so yeah, I would give you a detail, but it's just, you know, magical sword, his family lineage. You know, was like because the Black Knight isn't just one person. It's like been a long running line of Black Knights all throughout history or whatever, English, you know, lore, whatever, England, tied to England very much. But I don't like I've his actual books. Like they released a series like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I read half the first issue. I stopped. Like, this is fucking boring, you know. So he just shows up in Avengers sometimes. That's all I know about him, you know.
But
Yeah,
they will.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I did like the scene. I wasn't annoyed with the Blade stuff like Richard was. But because I obviously instantly knew like, oh shit, that's him, and I'm like, oh shit, and but yeah, I just didn't know about Black Knight, so I'm like, oh shit, who's this?
Yeah. It was just, I don't think that was introduced very well in this movie. Like, why is Black Knight? Why is the Eternals the place to introduce this character? I don't understand that. You know.
I think I can answer that question. The marketing for this movie at the very beginning is like, oh, this is going to be one of the most important MCU movies that you will see for the new phase. So maybe they felt the need, oh, we have to introduce all of these different things so that we can revisit them as the phase continues.
Yeah.
Well, Rich,
maybe
and I know. I'll go ahead, Dana. Sorry, there's a delay, by the way. So just
oh yeah, there is just.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dana.
Okay. So I was gonna just simply say that the sword, we do know it can talk to Dane Whitman, and I feel that through the sword, Blade is starting to recruit people for whatever is going on with his movie.
Oh
you could
shit!
make
Yes.
that argument.
And
remember, that is the same sword
Midnight
that
Suns.
connects to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, there you go. There, yeah, Midnight Suns. That's a group. I think I think both of them may have been in that. Let me look that up real quick.
Well, hold on a second. Is that the highly anticipated 2K game that
it's the same one
that I hear that both you and Carlos are looking forward to coming out in March?
Yeah. Yeah, it's those same Midnight Suns. That's right.
Yeah. But so going back to what Rich mentioned with the most important movie, I after seeing it, I actually kind of understand why they said that. Because the whole thing with the Celestials, don't they have anything to do with Galactus?
No, not really. I mean, they've come into contact, but they didn't like create him or anything, or he's not one of them either. You know,
because I thought Galactus was so like kind of like the one like a notch above like Celestials.
No, again, because they always change it in comics, but generally Celestials are more powerful than Galactus. You know, because they create, he just destroys. You know,
right? Because I thought Celestials, because and then watching this movie, it kind of made more sense to me because I'm like, oh, so Celestials are doing essentially this work of creating all of these new Celestials and planets so Galactus can consume them.
Yeah, well, that's why they kind of go into conflict, right? Because the Celestials are there creating shit, and then Galactus is coming and eating everything up. You know, so they don't like each other. They're opposite. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, makes sense.
So that could be interesting. It's like, yo, this motherfucker's ruining shit.
Doesn't also
actually, here's one of the things. This is not canon, but this is in a story called Earth X. Galactus, the reason he ate planets was to eat the Celestial inside the planet. You know, so so they may introduce that. That was not a canon story, but I think that would be an interesting way. It's like, yo, what's up with this dude eating planets? It's like, oh, he's trying to eat the Celestial inside of him. And also in those same comics, like that's the reason Earth has so many superheroes, because those superheroes are there as antibodies to protect the Celestial inside from Galactus when he shows up. You know, but that's not canon. They changed that shit, but it was a good story. Earth X, check that out. The artist, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he unfortunately passed away last year. So rest in peace to him. You know, great artist. Anyway,
yeah. So I thought that maybe that either a tie-in with Galactus or just the Celestials in general. I feel like these are the type of villains that can be in an Avengers scale. Because I don't know, anything that Blade does, anything that is done by some others. I don't know if that's enough to do an Avengers. Maybe it's going to be the Loki the Loki dude, the guy that Tony hates.
Who?
Kang?
Oh, Kang.
No.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. Oh, I just looked it up real quick because I was interested about it. So Galactus is stronger than any individual Celestial, but Celestials don't run around solo. So that's why they're always present as a threat to him. Because they're always running in packs.
Very interesting.
It's kind of like, you could have Arnold Schwarzenegger, but if like 10 dudes show up, it's going to be
if the rest of the Incredibles pops up.
Exactly, right?
So how does Adam Warlock fit into this? Because we do know that Pip also associated with Adam Warlock, who associated with Guardian of the Galaxy. So is it two separate events that's going to happen because of this movie?
It could, because the Adam Warlock is very much in line with the Eternals and Celestials and all that stuff. Anything cosmic, Adam Warlock's in the middle of that shit. So that's going to happen for sure. And Rich, you play Guardians of the Galaxy, the game, so you know this very well.
I just was about to say, I don't know what Marvel has planned for Adam Warlock in Guardians Volume 3, but or Thor. I don't know when. I'm assuming he's going to be in Guardians 3, but they have a lot to live up to because the way he was done in that game, I thought that was fantastic. So
he's already casted, right?
He's already cast.
Yeah, he is casted.
Yeah, I talked about that on Twitter earlier today because James was like, "Oh, this guy's killing." I'm like, "You're not going to say he sucks. This is stupid. Why are we reporting on this?"
Wait, who said that?
James Gunn. He said the actor who's playing Adam Warlock is doing a great job. I'm like, "What? Of course you're going to say that. You're not going to say he's doing a shitty job."
Who's the actor? Let me see. I'm trying to Google.
You probably know who he is.
Well, you definitely know who he is.
I have no fucking idea who this guy is.
Oh,
he's been in a lot of movies where he plays a goofy character.
His name is Will Poulter.
Yep.
Oh, Will Poulter. Yeah. He's the dude that looks like Sid from Toy Story, right? Is that him?
I'm looking at this. You're right.
Yeah, he's in. I think he's like in The Revenant too, or something like that. I think I remember him from that.
He's in a lot of things.
Yeah, he's in a lot of movies.
He was supposed to be. And he was supposed to be Pennywise.
Is that the Bear movie? Leonardo DiCaprio Bear movie?
Yes.
Revenant? Okay. I've been meaning to see that because that looks pretty brutal.
It is brutal.
Yeah, he was also in Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
Yes. Yep. That's the other place. Yep.
So overall, we do know that they stated, nothing's official, but they are working on a prequel for Disney Plus.
Okay. You should have had the prequel beforehand. How about that?
Why, Dana? Why are they doing this?
Money. No, it's the same thing for anything. You need to build up, they want their Disney Plus to outshine Netflix right now. So in order to do that, you need some kind of product.
Well,
so
I have a comment to make. I'll make that comment at the end of this podcast.
Oh,
good.
But continue. Yes.
And it did make its money back from the budget of $200 million. It made $401 million. So that's good there. And we do know that there's going to be some form of a sequel. It has to be because it's.
Wait, say those numbers again. Say those numbers again.
It was made for $200 million. They made it for $200 million. Box office so far is $401.9 million.
Okay,
so it doubled its money.
Double, because typically, from what I read, a movie actually needs to triple how much it makes in order to be profitable. So not a bomb per se.
No, it's just definitely one of the lowest numbers.
Yeah,
if it triples and it's a runaway success. If it doubles, it barely made its money back.
Yeah, yeah. It double it. So right now it broke even basically.
Yeah, it's breaking even.
It is
Essentially.
broke even. Okay, yeah, all right.
It's the 6th highest grossing film of 2021, which is not saying much, but
Yeah,
it says something.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, it says
unless
movies weren't coming out in 2021.
Unless you're talking about Spider-Man, that is saying something.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man. Yeah,
Spider-Man was an anomaly.
It's crazy. Like, I understand Spider-Man is huge. The way that this last movie just, you know, made everyone want to go back to the theaters. Like, I understand that.
Yeah, I think it's because it's Spider-Man and people wanted to go out. It was like a perfect confluence.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So that's what I think. The movie's going to blow up regardless. You know, it's Spider-Man. That's why somebody go, why did this movie succeed? Look at Dana's hat. That's why it succeeded. You know?
Yep.
No, I think it really succeeded once that leak started, which was very well orchestrated. Because if we just had Spider-Man with Doctor Strange and not had the other Spider-Man, I don't think it would have generated that much money. But once you're talking Toby
hold
and
on,
Andrew,
Dana. No. I have to disagree.
Really? 200 2 billion?
I disagree. This is why. Because you do this all the time, right? Because of people like you, we would have had that spoiled on the weekend it came out. So it would have done it regardless.
First of all, I don't spoil anything.
Yeah.
Okay?
But Dana, my grand point is, like, it was going to get out of the bag one way or another, and that was going to drive
the point that it was spoiled. Yeah. No, the reason I feel that because it was spoiled and because it was leaked, it helped people. If it was solid, nobody knew anything about it, and we just thought it was Doctor Strange and running around with Zendaya and regular Peter Parker, I don't think it would have made that much money.
No, Dana, after the first day, that would have leaked out and people would have been, oh shit, really? 3 Spider-Man? Let's go. It would have been the same regardless.
Okay.
That secret was not going to be kept.
Okay.
Again, even if you went into this movie, no spoilers whatsoever, movie comes out, no spoilers whatsoever. The first people that see it on that Thursday night, they're going to be like, oh shit, they got fucking these motherfuckers back. You know,
that's right. Shout out to Gary in the people in the UK who saw it a day or two before.
Oh, they would have blown it up. You know, they would have blown it up. So it was hard.
The whole movie was on YouTube, basically.
Yeah. So Dana, I agree with you that having 3 Spider-Men helped. Absolutely helped. I'm just saying that would have gotten out regardless. The first couple of hours after that movie came out, that would have came out. That was it.
The movie came out in the UK a week early, and then all the UK people were like, they got free Spider-Man.
They got free Spider-Man. They don't say 3, they say free. You know. Anyway, let's start wrapping because I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, let's get around. Any last thoughts on this?
Again, wasted potential. That's all I'm going to say. Wasted potential. A lot of good ideas that were just not properly realized.
Okay, Richard.
Yeah. Still disappointed by the movie. I am curious to see what they do as far as what happened at the end of the movie and how some of the other characters, how they were when we left this movie. So we'll see what the future holds. But overall, I think they fit too much into this movie. You probably could have had a Disney Plus show. That's why I laugh now when you say that there's some prequel coming. I don't know what the hell they're going to talk about in the prequel that they didn't already or could have already addressed in the movie itself. But yeah, it is what it is. But we'll see what comes after this.
Okay, George A. Romero.
He's Hispanic, also, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
So, it's a callback for something that happened before the show. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I'm with all of you guys. Something that I do want to mention is I just checked out the tomato score on this movie. It got a 47% from the critics. I am surprised that it was that low, considering a lot of the other fluff that some of the other Marvel movies get. You know, they get really good scores. So I'm surprised. I'm with Tony from since the beginning. Wasted potential. There's some ideas. I'm like, I know, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing, but they just didn't. They didn't cross that, that last mile. They didn't really get to that point, and it's a shame. Hopefully, the latter movies, because it did show at the end of this movie saying there's going to be more. Um, so hopefully the next movies are better, built upon this.
Very true. So now for any plugs. I know, Tony, you are a big bad person in your industry. Plug.
Oh,
I don't know about all that. But yeah, you can check me out on Twitter at Romudeth. Right there, ROMUDTH for those listening. In my bio, you'll see links to all the places you can find me. I am a computing writer for Tom's Guide, and I'm also the host of the Throwdown Show podcast, which I do with Mr. Carlos Romero every Thursday and Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursday is when we give you the general gaming news of the week, and Sunday is when we answer your questions. So come through, hang out on Throwdown, and check me out on the Twitters.
And what about you, Mr. Bailey?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter, Rich Bailey Jr. We have a ton of things that we're working on at the Koalition. As Dana will probably mention, we do have some power content that is coming very soon, because we have been covering the Power Book 2 Ghost. And of course, I just want to take a moment to let everybody know we thank you for the continued support. February is a huge month for content.
Oh yeah,
it's a massive month. We have Power Book 4 Force. We have Snowfall returning. I know Gary and I are going to be talking about that show. We of course have The Walking Dead, with which I know Carlos cannot wait for to return. And we do have a lot of gaming stuff that you will see on this channel, because February is a pretty huge month for gaming. So stay tuned.
Elden Ring.
Okay.
Yes. Elden Ring.
Yeah, Horizon,
Romero.
Yeah, like Tony meant. Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Eurocar9. You can see that below right now. Also, like Tony mentioned, check out Throwdown Show at Throwdown Show on Twitter, and check out the links. We got our own Discord where we, every time something pops, we always talk about it there. There's a lot of jokes, people joking about this movie on the Discord.
The clown in this movie.
Yeah. The occasional. There's always the daily NFT discussions as well. So we got it all. Make sure to check out our Discord.
And lastly, Koalition. I'm currently in 3 different film festivals right now. The award shows that we'll be talking about, and then really big that I can't say anything about, but we will have a lot of Warner Brother television stuff coming that we can't talk about right now. That is also associated with HBO Max. So yay DC. And we have more Disney stuff in terms of Disney Plus. So Moon Knight and everything else that will be coming up on Monday. So yay, everything's embargoed. So that is be coming up. So thank you for joining us. We will be back maybe in some form to talk about Peacemaker, maybe the mid Peacemaker when it's in its middle show or not. Oh, maybe. There are 8 episodes. 3 already dropped. If not, it'll just be me. So thank you. You can find us over at thekoalition.com and over here on the YouTube channel. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, whatever time you want.